But there's more to setting up the base station. You may have printers or disks connected to the base station so that they can be shared, and you also may have a modem like a cable modem attached to the base station so that you can use an internet connection. And this is one that you may have to set. Here's what has to happen. We are talking here in the internet connection about the connection from the cable modem to the internet service provider. And how is the IP address for the cable modem generated? And for most of us using this type of configuration, it's generated using DHCP, and you will see what the IP address at the moment of the cable modem is. If you have a static IP address, you choose manually and you will type in these three values. Now, the router address that you see here is the router that the cable modem is using. So both of these that start with 24, in my case at this time, are addresses of the router at the internet service provider and the cable modem that is communicating with this router. Now, I now have to come in and determine how I'm going to assign or have the base station assign IP addresses to the computers on the network. Now, there's a couple of ways in which this can be done. If you choose bridge mode, what that means is that this router, in this case at my internet service provider, will be sending down IP addresses that should be used by each computer. So when a computer uses DHCP to ask for an address, it will ask here for the address because the base station will not provide an address. So the request for a DHCP lease for an IP address goes right through the base station up to the next node on the network. I can also set the IP addresses that could be distributed by this particular base station, and they may be in the domain that the internet service provider has given. And you can see here that I can change only the last numbers. So maybe the internet service provider says you can use our beginning of our IP address, and you can distribute addresses between 2 and 200, 3 and 30, let's say. It doesn't matter, but whoever it is who's upstream from you will be giving you that information, what range of addresses can be distributed. But most of the time, what we do is the cable modem gets its IP address, and then within our local area network that is set up by the base station, addresses are distributed in one of the ranges, and these are 3 ranges that are reserved for local area networks. And the difference among them is that this range gives you more numbers that you can use, more IP addresses. This range gives you fewer. So you choose, for a larger network, you would probably choose the 10.0 range and select what range of beginning and ending addresses you want, and those addresses will be distributed by the base station, and it will take care of mapping from the single public IP address that the cable modem has gotten to the devices on your local area network, and no one on the network will realize that they do not have an IP address that was assigned by the internet service provider. So, that rather lengthy and, I'm afraid, somewhat complicated explanation means that when you are setting up your internet connection, what you need to know is how the addresses will be distributed. In most cases, if you are talking to an internet service provider when you are setting up service, they, at this point now, are familiar with routers, and including wireless routers, and they may have on their websites or in their promotional materials the instructions for how to do it. And the main point is whether or not you have a static IP address or whether or not you should be assigning addresses on your network.